Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Hello, my name is Karina and I have a question for IKYA. So my question would be, how do we approach material success? Is that something that we could allow ourselves to have on a spiritual path? I'm asking because sometimes I sense a bit of a conflict around having success in life and money, and that this is looked down upon because the idea is that it's not spiritual, right? And if you are of high consciousness, then you should be poor and you shouldn't have anything because it shouldn't mean anything to you. But at the same time, in modern spirituality, we are also being told that everything is God. So given these two are a bit contradictory and it doesn't really add up for me, I would really appreciate your views. Thank you.
The relationship between spirituality and religion and material success is quite interesting. If we look at the Catholic Church, for instance, they used to promote that the poor would be the first to go into heaven, and yet they collected all the money they could possibly get their sticky fingers on. They're just like, they did it for God because God needs money, obviously. It's been so much of these inconsistencies. And I think also, the thing is, people often saw that it was difficult when they had to focus on surviving, making money, being a farmer, having a job, like all of that, just fighting to survive. It was difficult to focus on the spiritual because you would have to fight. If we go back in time, life was extremely tough. Little food. It was, just a struggle. And people experienced that. They had to leave that whole thing behind because they were not able to connect. It's simply because the consciousness on the planet was lower. And we grow because you're here again, hopefully wiser than you were back then, So we can deal with it in a different way. But it is interesting how even today, many spiritual paths are still claiming that material success is not a good thing because it's not spiritual. Remember that many people seek spirituality as the result of feeling dysfunctional, as a result of feeling that they don't fit in, that they don't have success. Many people into spirituality are not wealthy. They're on the kind of poorer part of the spectrum. And then the story that material success is not important is a way to spiritualize one's own lack of achievement and success in life. That's actually a sign of a high consciousness. It's just creating a narrative that what we're doing that's not working, that's a sign of high consciousness. People have always done that because we want to be in control of the rules. We're creating hierarchy. The most important thing for humans in the hierarchy is to decide what truth is. The ones who decide what truth is, they own God, they own reality, and they decide everything. So when we decide that how I am, how I live, that's a sign of spiritual royalty. We can feel better about ourselves, and we place ourselves above people of material success because they only have that. But I have a high level of consciousness, so there. And that's the purpose of it. And so many people belonging to modern spirituality, they feel that they haven't been able to make this whole society work for them. And instead of trying to learn how to become successful, we say, no, it's a sign of low consciousness. I'm not touching that because I'm beyond that. That's why I can't do it. The thing is, if you were beyond it, you would master it. Think of it. If you have gone past a level, you have mastered it. And you can do it just like that. That's when you're above something. Doesn't add up. Many people in modern spirituality, they are not even capable of having a productive life. They're struggling. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not a sign of a high level of consciousness. A high level of consciousness is always mastery of the space you are in, which means also material success, if that is what you want. But yes, that's up to you. When you've mastered material success, it doesn't mean that you want it, but it means that you will be able to produce it if you wanted to. And then at least you're not in a position where you are suffering from the lack of it, which many in modern spirituality are. So, when we look at life as a spiritual practice, because that's what it is, it means that we are practicing. We're trying to figure out how to survive. That's rule number one, always survival. Each level of consciousness, that's where we all start. How do I survive in this space? And then how do I master it? If you find yourself not even surviving or barely surviving, you have certainly not mastered it. And if you cannot master your own life, which is one person, how do you think you can be one that is lifting the whole planet? You don't even know how to lift your own incarnation. I know a lot of people don't like to hear this and talk about it because it deflates the stories that we in modern spirituality often can make about ourselves. It is always too delicious to look at our own dysfunctionalities and turn it into spiritual royalty, because then we don't have to do anything about it because we're already perfect. But if you claim that you master it, prove it. Get rich. Then you can hand out the money if you want to. The thing is, business is also a spiritual discipline. It is really studying co-creation. It's how to apply oneself to this world and make it work. When you achieve results, when you're able to project your plans, your vision, and you make it work, and you make other people work, and you get results, other people respond to it. The money you get, it's simply that exchange, that you've been able to project something productive into this world. Money is the universal manifestation of creative energy in the civilization. There's nothing wrong with it. It's like blood. It's just there. And it's always a sign that you've been able to access a nerve, an impulse, something that is building growth somehow. And many people in business, they are present because they know they have to be. They understand timing, how to work with nature, because they're just one person. I've compared it to farming. One farmer can make fields, of vegetables grow, but it's still not him or her. It's that collaboration, co-creation with nature. And as a farmer, it's about maximizing the result and understanding the seasons, the climate, the different plants, and how to work on it to maximize the crops. And many business people, that's what they're studying. They're studying co-creation and how to get the most out of themselves and how to project their own energy into life, make it work. And money is simply the crop. Material success is one type of expansion. It's also an expansion of your life. So just like we can have an expansion of consciousness inside of us, money represents expansion of energy, expansion of life, and the life you can live. And yes, often when you have reached that level, it means that the space that you are in, you've reached a level of survival mastery. Remember that there are almost infinite levels. You know, we all live in different video games. We all have different karmic tasks, and we move through different spaces. So often when we achieve a level of success is because we are about to leave that space and go on to the next one, and then we start all over again. And then we might not understand the first thing about survival. So when we get to a level of mastery in anything, it's because we've done it for so long that we start to recognize and understand the laws of nature and physics that apply to our current space. And this is why we can see some people, they just start their own businesses and they just have a hit after hit after hit and they get filthy rich. And they go, oh, that guy is lucky, it just happened. No, he's been incarnating in that space for a while and now he gets it. He's able to maximize the crops in that same field. And then it's time to move on. So material success is just a way to work with nature and to study certain spiritual principles, not everything, but certain spiritual principles around co-creation and survival. And also maybe learn how that affects other people, because as you build a business, you move into leadership, which is also about, okay, how can I maximize the potential and growth in other people as well? And you can exploit them or you can build them up. That's also something you need to study as part of co-creation. If you're a good leader, they will benefit from what you project as well. They will benefit, their life will be improved. And that's part of what you're studying. So it gets lifted to a new level. It's always the next step. Because we're all here to study. And remember, what matter is ultimately just grains of sand in an infinite sandbox that we all play in. It's just like sand over there, sand over there. It doesn't matter. It's just what happens to us as we move on in our own journey and how we affect each other. And I work a lot with leaders, and that means global politicians and business people. And I think many of you would be surprised to the level of awareness many business people have. I've met so many billionaires building huge companies, and they're completely aware that they're not doing this for themselves. They're aware that they're studying how to lift the planet. They're aware that they have incarnated to study this. And they have to do this. They feel a compulsion to build because they know they have to bring the world forward. It's what they study. Other people may study other things. But ultimately, your level of material success will also reflect how much you are able to master the laws that apply to the space you are in. Now, often when we are on a spiritual path and we are aware of it, we don't stay very long in one space. And remember that as we expand, we're in multiple spaces at the same time. Many of you will know what I mean by that. We feel that we're in so many different processes and lines of evolution at the same time. We're not just in one space. We don't get the time to just master that one space. And because we have embraced that acceleration of awakening, we will always be exposed to what we haven't learned yet. So we don't get to that sense of mastering anything. We can feel that we master less and less because we don't need that experience. We need it when we don't understand that we are here to learn. When we haven't yet embraced that, oh, life is to show me everything I don't know yet. Let's dig in. So we embrace everything we don't know how to do or what to do when we don't understand who we are. And it doesn't matter. We have fun with it and we explore, which means often we have the sense of the opposite of mastery. And many people on a spiritual path can also be confused by this. But it's because we study more, faster, and then we move on. We don't need necessarily the manifestation. Look, I master this because I can arrange matter in a certain way. Because maybe we're past that point. So for many, it's because we study so many different spiritual subjects at the same time. We can't also do it in matter because we get it more quickly. I've expressed many times that at a certain point in our awakening, we start relating to the karma and the process and the learning and the dialogue, which means that when we listen, what life is telling us, we don't always have to go through matter first. We only have to go through matter when we are not listening, when we are in resistance, because matter is the result of resistance. When we are open and listening, and life is then showing us, okay, this is the next step. We start to listen, we start to internalize, and we figure out, okay, what do I need to change in myself? How can I tune? What new realizations will I grow into? When we are directly present in that dialogue, we don't always need physical manifestations. So we go to that level without having to move, grains of sand in the sandbox first, because we already get it. That's why, because we're already on to the next one. And the manifestation of success is simply who we are, our insights and how we, our presence in the world, how we affect life, how we affect other people around us. It does not necessarily translate to material wealth. But the difference is, you will be able to do it when your dialogue with life is true. When you are in that state of not having too much resistance. You know how to do it. In the spiritual community, many people will claim that they are here, that I just mentioned, that I'm able to do things directly. And yet their lives is a testament to them not being able to do that. They're just tricking themselves. And therefore, it is healthy to also live a productive life, to try to be part of the world, to try to be part of society. Because if you have no resistance to the space you're in, you can fit in, you can make it work. You can understand the rules in any space, and you can adapt to them and make it work. It doesn't have to be your identity. It's just like when you have a plant that needs a certain amount of sunlight or special soil or nutrients, you can do that. It's not your entire life, but you just know how to do it. It's like that. You can make it work because you know how to. It doesn't mean that you have to have that plant. But maybe you enjoy it, maybe not, but you're able to. When we are in our dysfunctionality, which means that we haven't even reached level of survival, we're not able to. And often, when we are in that dialogue, we have the areas of life that we have chosen to be in, we make those productive. It can be, for instance, in relationships. It can be a relationship to nature. It can be love, but it will be manifested spaces where we're able to concretely see that we produce success, and where we are that farmer that maximize the crop. But the crop can be anything. But we still will have that in certain spaces in our life, because we still need to demonstrate that, yeah, I get it. I understand the laws of nature in this space. So don't trick yourself. Don't believe the story that material wealth is not important. It can be for some. It does not mean that they're not spiritually awake. Working in order to achieve material success can be extremely real, because you can't just trick yourself and say, oh, I'll just sit here and meditate. You will have to do something. You will have to demonstrate that your interactions with life work. It's disciplining. And I think for many people involved in spirituality, it would be healthy for them to focus equally on material success and work for it. Because sometimes we can get too much caught up in our disconnection. And the spiritual communities have a tendency to be too much of a bubble on the side of life, as they're trying to justify the different dysfunctionalities as spirituality. To me, spiritual awareness is the ability to relate to yourself based on what you truly are, and relate to life based on what it actually is, and make that work for real based on the intentions you set, and you get results, no matter what it is. It's not about beliefs. It's not about energy. It's about being an active, co-creational part of life in every space you're in, including the physical. So embrace being here. Embrace the sandbox, because we're here. Have fun with it. And open yourself up to the possibility of material success in whatever way that may manifest. But see it as important, as a way for you to manifest your learning and sometimes your mastery of the space you're in. Be here. If you want to truly help people, it helps to be a billionaire. You can do a lot more that way. So include material, physical success as a part of your toolbox, and include that as a spiritual path and spiritual discipline. And try also to look at people with real success in a new way. Maybe they have learned something we haven't. Maybe they are doing something. Because sometimes we go into this story just like, it's so easy for people to say, like, if someone's really pretty, they have to be dumb. They can't be smart. They can't be a good person, because it's not allowed to be both. You have to choose. You can be smart or you can be pretty, but you are not allowed to be both. Some people are. And some people are rich and in a high level of consciousness. And some people are poor and in a low consciousness. It can be whatever. It's your path. But part of being free spiritually is open yourself up to all possibility, all tools. And we're all here to learn the same thing. To be co-creational with everything we are. And to achieve anything and everything beyond your wildest dreams and imaginations.